Let's be brutally honest right now. That's a big question.
I'm looking for someone who doesn't want to go to base camp, but they want to go to the very top.
Whether it's here, India, New York.
Civilization was born at happy hour.
That's what wins. That's what stands out. That's what people are interested in. That's what I want to know. The Hospopreneurs Podcast with James Henderson. John Lazarou went from being a hairdresser in 1989 to joining two forward-thinking business minds the following year in operating a small cafe in Brisbane. That same venue, over the next 30 years, evolved into one of the most notable franchises in the coffee industry. Now, with 400 venues across 9 countries, John joins me today as a director of that brand, the Coffee Club, and its holding company, minor DKL Food Group. He's a very charismatic and fascinating gentleman, and I really enjoyed our conversation together. I hope you do too. Hello and welcome to the show, John.
Thank you very much, James. It's nice to finally meet you, and you're a young Brisbane lad, and here we are meeting in Melbourne.
John, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the program. I'm very excited to get into the interview today. And as you know, the first question that I like to ask is a crazy hospitality story or a memorable hospitality experience. So I'm interested to know what your memorable hospitality experience is.
I think I'd have to go right back to day one when we opened the Coffee Club at Eagle Street Pier in Brisbane, where I was working there as a duty manager and we had all staff on deck. And for some reason, our very first customer, I don't know what made me do this, but I asked for her name and got to know a little bit about her. And I was fortunate enough that she gave me her phone number. And we have kept in contact with Doreen Crookston for all this time.
Wow.
And it's 30 years now.
That's a great story.
I have no idea why I did that. I really don't.
Wow.
You don't go asking your customer for their phone number and their name.
Well, I mean, some people have.
The good thing is that we've set a standard now, so a lot of our new store openings, they take the details of their first customer that walks in on the door on the day of opening, and they get treated, every customer's special, but they get a little birthday card on the day that we open. Wow. And they invite them back for the first birthday, the second birthday. And we had Doreen just recently when we celebrated our 30th birthday. So
that's fantastic.
It is.
Amazing. I really like that.
I don't know why I did it. There's a memorable story which I don't understand why it happened.
But you made it part of your business.
Yes, of course.
Was there a reason for that? Did you find it effective?
I can't explain. Well, yes, it is effective. In the 30 years, Doreen has a photo of me and her on her coffee table.
Great.
She's now in a retirement village in the outskirts of Brisbane, and she says that she's got photos of her husband Bevan, who's passed away. She's got photos of her son and her daughter-in-law at their wedding. But the photo of me and her stands with pride on her coffee table.
That's fantastic. I love that. Well, thank you very much for sharing that memorable story, John.
You're welcome, James.
John, the second question that I normally like to get into is why you do what you do.
Look, I was a hairdresser for 13, 14 years, and I really loved what I did. I enjoy interacting with people, with customers, and building friendships. I'm bloody good at it too. But with hairdressing, the one thing that I realized was that because I was the owner, everybody wanted me to work with them, to do their hair, to consult with. So I just found it very draining after all those years. And I realized that I'm only going to be as successful as fast as my hands are. So you can only make so much money in hairdressing if everybody wants you to do their hair. Mm. And hospitality just basically landed on my lap at that time of my life. And I thoroughly enjoyed working with so many people. And just the fact that you only need to spend a couple of minutes with each customer, that was beneficial for me. And hospitality is the career that I've chosen to stay in.
What was it about that? Was it the sheer fact that you've got that volume that you pump through? Is it exciting or?
Very.
Is that what it was that
Absolutely.
Really drew you in?
When you're doing 300-400 customers a day and you have had an interactive moment with each of those customers, and if I haven't, then I'll go out and source that interaction with that customer.
By asking their phone number sometimes?
Well, no. That was only the first customer.
I'm just joking. Fantastic. Okay. That answer tells me a bit about what it was that really drew you in, but on a core level, deeper than that, what is it that really inspires you about hospitality?
I guess the fact that I've got so many staff, we have so many staff that I can also interact with, that I can help to improve, help them to achieve their goals, because a lot of our staff are young ones, anywhere from 18 to 25, 26, 27, and to show them that career-wise, you can make it in hospitality as your career. In the past with hospitality in Australia, it always seems to have been a stepping stone of what you do until you get a real job, and I absolutely hate that. Hospitality is very much a career, and there's been a lot of great success stories from hospitality.
Mm-hmm. We've had some of those incredible people on the program.
Yeah, of course you have. Yeah.
So
I want to change Australia's perception about being a waiter. Oh, I'm just a waiter. I absolutely hate that. You know what? Our business can't run with just waiters. We want damn good waiters.
So how have you gone about doing that?
By sharing my success about the hospitality industry. I'm an uneducated man. I won't say a high school dropout because I am a high school dropout. I left school because I wanted to go out and work. I did an apprenticeship. I was very creative with my job in the hairdressing industry. I was a second-year award-winning hairdresser in Queensland. That built my popularity up and therefore attracted a different clientele. But I knew that hairdressing was not going to be my final stage, and I didn't know that hospitality was going to be. But when I entered the hospitality industry, through Gambaro's Seafood Restaurant in Brisbane, I was their maitre d'. I was the youngest maitre d'. I still hold the record for the highest tip, and that was 40 years ago. And I'm talking that the bill was $1,620 and the guy gave $2,000 and said, keep the change. That's $380. That's a lot of money back then. That's 40 years ago. I'll reiterate that. 40 years, $380. And then there was the Greek Taverna restaurant. A mate of mine, George Simons, owned the Greek Taverna restaurant. That's how I got my passion for hospitality.
Yes.
And working with those two gentlemen, Michael Gambaro and George Simons, in hospitality, they are leaders in their field and they're very successful from the industry of hospitality.
Yes. I want to open that a little bit more because you mentioned there that obviously 40 years ago, you've seen many different things and the industry's changed. So how has the franchising space changed in the time that you've been franchising?
Well, basically, when we started franchising, that was back in 1994, there wasn't a great deal of franchises available. Or there was, but I didn't know of them. So franchising was a new area for me. A young Greek boy that grew up in West End, I knew nothing about franchising other than McDonald's and KFC and Hungry Jack's and Pizza Hut have franchised. Over the years, the 30 odd years now, they franchise almost anything and everything. And I think that we have a great deal of credibility as far as franchising goes. We've been very successful in that area, but I'm always skeptical about listening to people talk, I'm going to go with this company here, and I won't mention company names. They've got, 30 stores, and you do your research, they've got litigation against them because they aren't providing to the franchisee what they said that they were going to provide. I believe we're doing franchising beautifully. We've got great franchise partners, our franchisees, they're amazing, and we're all on the same page.
How do you create systems for franchisees to reflect your vision for the entity that you're franchising?
So that was done many, many years ago. We were very conscious of documenting everything that gets done in our original store so that if we're happy with it, we pass it out to the other stores. And if it needed to be tweaked, then we have the ability to tweak it before it goes out in a perfect form so that our franchisees can follow suit.
Interesting there that you say in a perfect form as well. There's also this agile or lean methodology and more newer mentalities around launching things. Do you believe something needs to be perfect before you roll it out?
Look, it's never going to be perfect, but we like to think that it's going to be as close to perfect as possible. So we have trial stores around the country and they're in various markets that are very different to one another. So we trial our products, any new items in there, and we get feedback from our franchisees. They've got a questionnaire that they need to fill out to make sure that everything is running perfectly, not only in the top performing stores, but some of the stores that have different types of customers. Because the key to any successful franchise is consistency. And we like to think that our consistency is there.
You mentioned also in a part of your answer previously that everyone's franchising now. Is there a reason for that?
Well, franchising is giving you the opportunity to grow your brand much faster than if you were doing it on your own, because you're training people. It's like pyramid, I suppose. You're sitting at the top of the pyramid and you're teaching people exactly your systems, and then they go on and teach other people, and then they go on and teach other people. So before you know it, you've got this whole pyramid of your brand around the country, and some brands globally, and fortunate to be one of those.
John, how did you come to the decision that you would end up building DKL?
So DKL came about because I think it was in 2008, which is 11 years ago. Miner, which is a Thai public company, noticed that we were having exponential growth in Australia, and we met up with them. They came and saw us. They courted us for a couple of years until we sort of agreed that we would sell 50% of our company to them. So there's lots of benefits for all parties concerned that sale was done. And at a later time, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they took on another 20%. So my partners and I, we have 30% now, and Miner is a 70% shareholder. Through Miner, we have been able to, because they're from Thailand and they've got many businesses in Southeast Asia, and now they've just gone into Europe with hotels and food brands. They've been extremely successful, and they have helped us to grow the brand in the countries that they're already in, which otherwise may have been very difficult for 3 Aussie guys to grow your brand when you don't have people on the ground looking after that brand.
Yes. There are a few threads that I'd like to pluck out there, but the first one is, you mentioned that there was a courtship process that took 2 years. What does that look like so people who might be running successful businesses can be aware of what this process might look like? Because sometimes it's an introduction and then they're just watching what you're doing. So what did it look like?
There's a lot more than that, because there was a fair amount of money involved.
Of course.
So due diligence and looking at the books with confidentiality clauses all the way through. And for us, it was a successful partnership, but maybe for others, it may not be. So we were very lucky that we had a very astute company looking out at what we're doing, and we were doing everything right at the time.
What does that look like from a relationship standpoint? Is it very commercial with a company that size, or is it very personal?
Well, no, it's very personal. Us as directors here and all the A team that we meet with in Miner, that's very personable. And it's not a bad thing, because, we are no longer just the small little group that we were maybe 11 years ago, where we only had, 150 stores. Or even go back further, where we had 30 stores and we knew every one of our franchisees. We are now a corporate entity. We're no longer the 3 guys that started the coffee, or we are the 3 guys that started the coffee club, but we've got people in there. We've got a CEO, a CFO, we've got a board that basically look after everything now. So it's nice just to walk in and have a cup of coffee and not worry about the business anymore.
If we go back right to the start, how did the founders, select each other to work together?
So Emmanuel Kokoris and Emmanuel Drivers, the 2 founders of the coffee club, now you weren't even born in 1988, were you?
No.
I didn't think so. So we had Expo. Do you know what Expo is?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Expo 88 in Brisbane. So for 6 months in Brisbane, we had the opportunity of going to amazing restaurants, amazing coffee shops, amazing bars, and a lot of them were open 24 hours. And that just brought Brisbane to life. It made it a magical city. You've got so many options, and it's where South Bank is, right? So that entire area was just a whole bunch of countries being represented by what they do. So their hospitality, food, drink, it was all there. But after 6 months, it all closed down, it all packed up, and we became the sleepy town that we were. But Manuel and Manuel, they were out at a wedding and they were wanting to go for a cup of coffee after this event. I think it was the wedding. After this event, they wanted to go out for a coffee, and there was absolutely nowhere to go after 11:30 and after midnight. So that's where the idea was born, that Brisbane needs a late night, nice coffee shop where you can get a selection of something to eat, snacks and what have you, and cakes, in a nice, not in a shopping centre or not in a streetscape. So that's where Eagle Street Pier, you look at it and you think, wow, what an amazing view, it's magical.
Yes.
They knew that I wanted to get out of hairdressing. They asked me if I'd like to join them, and I did. As a duty manager for the first 12 months, I was doing coffee club one day and hairdressing the next day, and I knew after 12 months that I'd have to make a decision, and I chose coffee club.
Fantastic.
I thoroughly enjoyed that year, where we were working and coming up with new ideas and concepts.
Yes.
It was great.
On the note of coming up with new ideas and concepts and innovating, what is it that you're learning about right now?
I'm always looking at Instagram and Facebook. I'm always looking at new food trends, and I have to say that it's never excited me before, but the way that they're presenting vegan meals these days, I really want to try it.
That hasn't been the case before?
No, never.
Why?
I'm a meat eater. I'm Greek, mate.
Personally, I agree, but I'm interested to know why you believe that.
I'm not saying that Coffee Club's going to introduce a whole vegan section, but what I'm saying, this is me personally, the way that they make what looks to be a beef patty, but it's all plant-based, and they say that it tastes like beef, I just want to give it a go. I just want to see what all the fuss is about. I'm not saying that I'm opposed to it, and I'm not saying that I'm going to love it, but I do want to try it.
So you said what it looks like.
Yes.
And implied about the taste, but have you tasted these things? You haven't tasted them yet?
No, I just haven't got around to it. I've been too busy.
I'm interested as well. There are some that I've tried, some that I've not tried. I
Okay.
won't mention any specifically by name, but I have read a lot of things as well,
Yeah.
and it sounds like they very much compete. We had a guest previously on the program, Alex Shirazi, talks about a lot about cultured meat, the Cultured Meat Symposium in San Francisco, and he has a really exciting episode where we talk about these things. If you're listening, you're interested in that episode, definitely listen to Alex Shirazi as well. There's a lot happening in that space.
I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but I have an issue with, if you're a vegan, why would you want your food to look like a T-bone steak, let's say? It has really got me interested. It's sparked something in my mind. What's all the fuss about? How can something that's plant-based taste like a steak? So I want to know.
John, the next question that I'd like to ask you is, where are you pushing the conversation forward?
I would like to think that before I pass away from this magnificent planet of ours, that I have made a bit of a difference to the hospitality industry in Australia. I would like to think that all of our staff that work in hospitality, whether it's dishwashing, whether it's a barista, whether it's a chef, whether it's floor person, wait staff, whatever, that they are treated with the respect that any other staff member gets in any other industry. Because without the hospitality industry, I want to know where all these people will go and eat. So I would like to think that out of respect, our staff in hospitality industry, somebody that's serving you your food, is not just the person that's putting a plate in front of you. They're doing it with passion. They love what they do. And we want our customers to know that we're there to make sure that your experience is everything you want it to be. So surely that deserves a bit of respect.
How do you inspire that passion, or do you hire that passion?
Well, in Australia, I think it's a small percentage of staff that are in hospitality that it is their career. And if it is their career, I'd like to think, oh my God, come and see us straight away. We want you, because you and your passion have the ability to make our business more successful than it is. I don't understand how somebody can wake up in the morning, put their feet on the ground and say, oh, I've got to go to work. I've never thought that once.
Yes.
I'm 57 years old. My feet go on the floor. Doesn't matter what time of day it is, whether it's 4 o'clock in the morning because of a new store opening, or whether I've had a late one and I get up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. When my feet go on the ground, I always look forward to going to work because I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. And it just so happens that I'm friggin' good at what I do.
100%.
So I tick a lot of boxes.
What is needing attention that isn't receiving it?
In the hospitality industry?
Anywhere along the supply chain or business world?
Look, I'm going to keep harping on the fact that the majority of people, or Australia's perception of hospitality industry, is unskilled workers. We may be uneducated, but we're not unskilled. The skill that we do possess is to be able to ensure that each and every one of our customers comes into our store and walks out with a memorable experience. Not everyone's got that skill.
Do you think Australians have that more than other cultures?
We're getting there.
What reflects this level of hospitality the most? Is there a particular culture that stands out for you?
Most of the European countries have so much respect for anybody that works in a restaurant or in any of the hospitality sector.
And on the way to recording this interview, we touched on that as well. Is there something in that you think really drives that level of hospitality?
I'd have to say, James, that it comes down to recruitment. You've got to make sure you recruit the right people that are passionate about hospitality. It's got to be in your DNA. It's got to be in your DNA. Yeah. You can't be great in the hospitality industry if you don't like talking to people. There's some people that don't like talking to people. They should be vets, and sit there and pat a dog and whatever it is that you do. But if you don't actually enjoy interacting or meeting new people, hospitality is really not your area.
John, we touched on a previous question there around innovations, things that have changed over the time that you've been in the industry. I'm interested to know what you see the future of the hospitality retail experience to look like, given the change in technology that's taking place.
Well, thank goodness that a robot is never... I can't imagine going to a restaurant and being served by a robot. A robot coming over to take your order, or an iPad there that you would do that yourself. Okay, there's time and place, if you're going to, one of the fast food places that you would go to, yes, you can go to a board and order everything yourself and make it specific to how you want it. But that's a completely different market, although it's hospitality. But in our industry, I think our customers want that interaction. They want somebody to have a joke with them, to ask them how their day is, to tell them what's new on the menu. The customer wants interaction just as much as you do at times. But of course, you've got to be experienced and be able to read the customer, and that only comes with experience.
Only with experience? Can you teach?
I don't think you can teach somebody that, but I believe it's instilled in them. It's in their DNA. I'll say it 1,000 times. Hospitality is in your DNA. If it is, you'll be great at it. If it's not, it's something that can't be taught.
How do you test someone very quickly for that skill?
I watch them interact with the first customer. I'm pretty sure that if that interaction is exactly what I'm after, and I haven't employed anybody on the floor for many, many years now because, we've got all these people that do that in store opening teams. But in the past, my first thing would be I would look at how that new staff member interacts with customers. After that, if I love that interaction that they've had, and if I believe that they have the ability to do that on a continual basis, then we can teach them everything else. You can basically teach a monkey, to make a sandwich.
It's interesting that one interaction, a lot of their future
depends on
that one interaction.
Look, I take into consideration they may have nerves. They're being watched
100%.
The entire time. I take that into consideration as well.
It's interesting because I have a similar sort of way that I test people, not with the first interaction, but I test people, and I've said this on the show before, I test people with high fives, and I gauge their level of commitment to the job based on their high five.
Okay.
So I will instigate a high five, and if they're they come in with this low energy...
like a high three?
A low five. A three, if they come in with this low five, that tells me that they're low energy straight away. So I'm like, okay, up here.
Yeah, energetic in a job interview is a big plus.
Big time. John, you're a very playful person. You have a really lively personality, and I'm interested in how you foster that positivity. Is that something that you believe is also inherent within you? Is that something that you've trained yourself to be like?
No, I really think that that's in you, and you can't teach anybody to be a bubbly personality if they're not a bubbly personality. In my 30 years of hospitality, or 35 years, whatever it is, I don't think that's something you can teach anyone. And if they do try and do it, then
you can
see that it's not genuine, and it just looks worse. It's ridiculous than being flat.
So how, with so many staff members, are you able to find that?
You pray.
Kind of got to poach
pray.
people almost.
Yeah, that's right. I still do it today. If I've been given exceptional service, whether it's in a department store, in a restaurant, in a bar, or in a coffee shop, I'll hand them my card and I'll say, look, if you're ever looking for a job, you're the sort of person that we're looking for.
Great.
Yeah, I do that still today.
John, over the years, there have been more franchises that have come in a similar space. How have you dealt with competitors that have come into your business world?
So next Wednesday, we're opening a new store here in Melbourne, so I'll be back down. And one of my talks with the new team, as in the induction, part of their induction, is to let them know how powerful and how important their role is within the coffee club. So you can walk through a shopping centre now, and everyone's got great coffee machines there. Fit outs are all sort of similar looking because everybody wants to stay on trend. Cakes, food, similar suppliers, prices all fairly compatible, but our point of difference is our new team. So as soon as they become part of the team, I let them know that now you're a brand ambassador. You are so important to us, whether you're washing the dishes. No job is created if it's not necessary. So every job that needs to be done in this store is created because it's necessary. So your job is important, because without that, it's going to stuff up something else in the circle. It's really our staff, our team. We've got a great brand out there, but these are our brand ambassadors, and these are the guys that need to ensure that everything remains as we set it up to be so many years ago. So they're the custodians of the brand, and I like to call them that.
Yes, carrying it with them. And the term brand ambassador is being used a lot more often now.
I've been using it for 30 years, but anyway.
So they've copied you. John, on the way here, we talked a bit about mentors. I'm interested to know your perspective on mentorship, what that looks like, what a mentor looks like, and then a bit about maybe what you want to do with mentorship.
Right. I'm fortunate that we've got between 8 and 10,000 staff floating around just in Australia. And when they join the team at the coffee club, the first 15 or 20 minutes of their induction is seeing a video of me welcoming them to the brand and what we expect from them and how lucky we are to have them as a brand ambassador. So automatically they know who I am. And then if I'm lucky enough to be at their store induction, depending on my diary, I get to meet them in person. And I let them know that here's my card, here's my phone number. If you need any type of assistance, if you've got an idea that you want somebody that may have tried many ideas and failed, and that would be me, but I have tried many ideas and they've worked, let me know. More than happy to help you out. And that's been great. Whether it's small idea, big idea, investment, career opportunities, I'm more than happy to help a lot of the young people, just give them a different way of thinking. I've been fortunate over the years, we've sponsored the Young Achiever Awards around the country, and I've met some amazing young people who have done amazing things in very different careers and industries. And I've been fortunate enough to meet with them, to listen to their ideas, and just to give somebody else's perspective on how that idea would or would not work. And I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it.
Do you have a mentor yourself now?
No, not really.
Have you had anyone that you've looked up to or has inspired you along your journey?
Many different people along the way and for different reasons.
Yeah.
I would have to say that two very good friends of mine in the hospitality industry, I've created my presence on the way that they have within their business. And without a doubt, I think two of the most hospitable people in hospitality is Michael Gambaro, one of my first bosses from Gambaro Seafood Restaurant in Brisbane. He taught me never be afraid to go up to a customer and ask, is there anything else I can get for you? How was everything? These are very important questions because that customer automatically thinks, wow, the owner has come up to me and asked me how everything was, or do I need anything else? And then at the end of their experience, shout them a little glass of port, and that is something that they will remember forever. Now, if you do all those things and they're not genuine, they'll pick up on it. And then the other one was George Simons, who, if you know George Simons, his personality is bigger than Ben-Hur. He's like the whole galaxy in one as far as personality goes. And he taught me that no subject is taboo, so long as you can read a customer. And you need to have that ability with reading a customer. And I have no hesitation in walking up to an 80-year-old woman and saying, oh, if only you were 2 years younger, I'd sweep you off your feet and take you over to the Greek islands. They would love that.
Yes, yeah.
You're having a joke with them. Automatically, you've become like a bestie to them. So when they come to have their coffee, they're having a coffee with their bestie. It's not rocket science. But again, it has to be genuine. And I reiterate.
And it requires that ability to read people, read the room, read individuals, where they are in their day, and a lot of factors that we've discussed earlier in this episode.
So touching is another one. I can look at a customer and say, I know that I can go up to that customer and touch them on the shoulder and say, how's your day been?
Yeah.
Or I can go up to a customer that I'm looking at and I know that she needs a hug or she doesn't mind being hugged. You give them a hug, and that's so personal.
We had a hug when we met.
Exactly.
Yeah. John, ultimately, where do you see yourself? And ultimately, how do you describe what it is that you will be doing?
If my career continues on the path that it is now, I'm a happy man. If for some reason that I want to change my role, I would like to think that I'm going to open a school of hospitality, and I would only take in a team, students that I believe have that hospitality in their DNA. So therefore, anybody that has studied or come to my hospitality school, any other hospitality person will know that they're going to get exactly what they're after. So money can't buy you a place in my college of hospitality. It has to be that you've got hospitality instilled in you and you are passionate about it.
Beautiful.
That's a vision.
I have one last question for you, John.
Sure.
Who would you like to hear on the show?
I would like to hear somebody that is working on a coffee plantation, and I want them to share their day with us or their season with us as we do with the finished product. I would like to know how their day, week, month, season pans out compared to mine.
I've got some exciting news for you after the episode. Thank you very much, John, for being on the program today, and it was an incredible time.
Thank you, James. I look forward to having a coffee with you as I'm listening to this podcast.
Thank you.
This program is hosted by James Henderson, with technical production by Jake Olver. Voiceovers were by Angus Brennan and Shim Phelan. Thanks to our distribution team, led by Stephanie Holland, and a special thanks to you for tuning in every week. This program was produced by H Media. We'll see you soon.